what servers they tend to play on.
Yeah, there's a little bit of difference. So
yeah, especially if you look at decks like Tempo Mage and Dragon Warrior. Those decks differ a lot between the tournaments. All right, well, here we go. The first game of the first match of the Thailand Hearthstone Major. Pinpingho versus Neilyo. It's going to be the Totem Shaman versus the Freeze Mage from Neilyo.
And keep in mind, we mentioned this earlier, but these players do know that the decks that are playing against, so they can mulligan with perfect certainty what they're playing against. And yeah, Pinpingho decides to keep that Totem Golem in his opening hand. Obviously, it makes sense. Very difficult for the Freeze Mage to get rid of that, barring using tools like the Doomsayer. Even though he does have, speaking of Neilyo, crossover and Doomsayer again already.
Yeah. Kind of funny that if Neilyo decides to play turn 2 Doomsayer here, oh no, Pinpingho won't have a way to deal with it since he'll be overloaded. Flamethrower Totem wouldn't be able to answer it. Flamethrower Totem Primal Fusion would if he had 3 mana.
Right, for exactly 7 damage.
Yeah, but this is going to be really the only turn they are able to get a safe Doomsayer alone off. The question is whether or not Neilyo feels like he can save the crossover. But turn 2 Doomsayer, especially rolling into card draw, is so powerful against faster. Well, Pinpingho's deck isn't really that fast, but it's really good against Shaman and Zoo, decks that like to get on the board early.
Right, and that's a really big thing that you bring up, is that there's so many factors into this turn 2 Doomsayer, right? You try to think, do I want to wait for the Frost of a Doomsayer? Number 1, you're taking a lot of damage. Number 2, you're not really doing much other than playing a Novice Engineer. And also on top of that, you actually have a follow-up. You see a lot of times people clear the board, and it's like, well, what's your follow-up? Okay, you know, for instance, with Paladin, they go Pyromancer Equality, and the next turn they just go with the Hero Power. It's like, well, you didn't gain any actual initiative, but here, in the case of Neilyo, he has the exact play that he wants for turn 3.
Yeah.
And just deciding what he wants to do. Maybe he wants to guarantee that draw on turn 5, but yeah, this is a bit too juicy to play on curve.
I think, yeah, Acolyte of Pain, you force your opponent to have almost exactly Rockbiter or Lightning Bolt in that situation, or to roll Spell Power in the case of Spirit Claws. I think Pinpingho is going to try for the Spell Power first, doesn't get it, but they Thanos. But even if you get 1 card from Acolyte, a lot of times it's, you know, pretty good if you buy damage from your opponent, because there's a lot of card draw in this deck nowadays. You run Loot Hoarders, you run Novice Engineers, you run Arcane Intellect, you run Acolytes of Pain. Since Mad Scientist is gone, you have a lot of more room per cycle. So you can afford to destroy your Acolyte of Pain. Risk it only drawing 1 card, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. Alright, so coming back for Neil's side, pretty easy play there. Just go ahead and play your Novice Engineer, ping off the Thanos, because obviously that's a lot of damage to your face if you leave that unchecked. And, well, right on time, Flaming faces the meme himself, 4 mana 7/7, coming onto the field. Gonna go ahead and pressure Neilyo as much as possible, and Neilyo has kind of an answer, but it's pretty difficult.
Yeah, he's got Frost Nova Doomsayer, but that is his second Doomsayer, and it's not that big of a board.
Right, he can also Fireball, Coin, Ping, but then you're using your coin. He can also just kind of go on the, you know, perpetual freezing plan, but the perpetual freezing plan doesn't really work unless you have, you know, something to do 3 turns from now after that's all said and done.
Another option would be to coin Blizzard, but that seems like the worst out of all the options.
Right, yeah, that's what I was mentioning with the, you know, freezing the entire time.
Yeah.
Just coin Blizzard, then you're committed to Frost Nova, so looks like Neilyo is gonna do this. The nice thing about, you know, going for the Frost Nova Doomsayer is that either you clear the board or they you know, jump through hoops to deal with the Doomsayer, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
Then there's no development, and, you know, you're obviously healing for 7 essentially.
So
speaking of dealing with it, can he deal with it?
No. Even if he rolls Spell Power, he won't be able to. He won't
Right.
be able to Maelstrom Portal and Rockbiter Weapon because of the overload. So, like this tap at Pinpingho, he's not going to really be able to do anything else besides just re-Spirit Claw. So, but that's a lot of momentum lost, and Neilyo's able to hold on to coin, which means he'll be able to coin Alexstrasza. And even though it takes a couple turns, he's already got enough burn in his hand to deal with that 15 health.
Yeah, and
so that's a pretty good spot for Neilyo right now.
Yeah, speaking of burn, Pinpingho is obviously playing more of a totem arranged shaman, so he's not going to be able to burn out Neilyo here, which means that Neilyo is looking to be in a ridiculously good spot right now.
Yeah. So, Pinpingho, I talked about his Totem Shaman deck and how I didn't really like it because it sort of lacked a general game plan. He runs Primal Fusion, he runs Totemic Might, but doesn't run sort of a secondary win condition, and by that I mean like Doomhammer or Bloodlust,
Right.
to get value out of his totems that he buffed up. He doesn't run Wicked Witch Doctor either, so that's really
Wow.
good.
You saw Neilyo just shaking his head up and down. He's like, "Yep, that's the exact card I wanted at this point."
Yeah.
And that might just seal out the game, getting that Thoris in there.
Yeah, now he'll be able to Alshaz the next turn and then be able to deal 15 damage in one turn, which he wouldn't have been able to do before without the Emperor Thorsan reduction. So Pinpingho has to find a way to pop the block.
Oh, this is barrier, actually.
Yeah, it's barrier. Oh, well, he needs to find a way to actually kill them over the next
right.
2 turns, which, I mean, might be possible if he draws perfectly, but he doesn't have any burst cards in his deck is the thing. He doesn't have Doomhammer, he doesn't have Bloodlust.
And the thing for Neilyo here is that he can actually just go Alexstrasza into Coin Frostbolt, so that there's no... You're taking away 3 damage from Pinpingho as well. And even the Thorsan can go ahead and start doing cleanup duty.
Yeah, but this is where your Pinpingho, or sorry, your Neilyo, and you're thinking, all right, let's start thinking about the next game, because I already have this one in the bag at the moment. Well, Pinpingho's going to make a push.
Right, he's going to do his best to go ahead and clear up this Thorsan. That means he's not getting much damage to the face, though. We're going to see 8 go to the face here after the cleanup of the Thorsan, which means that he's going to erase the block, but that means, or excuse me, the barrier, but that Neilyo is still going to be at 24, which is obviously not a place that Pinpingho wants his opponent to be at.
You can see Neilyo smiling. Oh, how cute. Totem's attacking me.
5/7 healing totem. And Neilyo says, you know what, I have a giant dragon, and you don't have Bloodlust, so we're going to go ahead and finish out this game. I would be very surprised if he didn't commit to the Coin Frostbolt.
He's just going to try and think through exactly how much damage he needs to play around, because these players know the deck list. So Neilyo can think in his head, how much is the most possible damage that Pinpingho can deal to me next turn? And Pinpingho just doesn't have burst cards. The highest possible damage he could play next turn would be Thunderbolt Valiant into Totem Up. That would be the most damage he could get. That would only be a net gain of 6.
Yep. And Pinpingho is going to be 13 damage off lethal, if my math is correct here. And you don't really want to be 13 damage off lethal.
No, you kind of want to have lethal.
Exactly. And this is true. He actually has to go ahead and clear Alexstrasza.
Yeah. And the last turn he had to clear Emperor Thorsan, so he had to find a way to win over 2 turns, while also dealing with the big threats that Neilyo was playing.
The light protects
You know, this isn't how Freeze Mage always performs. Neilyo had both Doomsayers and Freeze effects in his early hand, as well as Emperor Thorsan on 6, Alexstrasza on 7.
And burn after that.
And Burn on 8. Yeah. So, you know, a pretty... feels like a standard game of Freeze Mage, but Pinpingho never really had a chance from the get-go, and Neilyo takes game 1.
Yeah. That said, though, I think that Freeze Mage is a pretty heavy favorite in that matchup because of the lack of burn in Pinpingho's deck. Really, when people talk about the matchup being close, initially it was Shaman was favored, and recently you saw the best of 21 between Laughing and RDU, for instance, kind of making it look like it's a bit more close to 50-50. But that's assuming that Doomhammer's there, because you can't consistently freeze the face. Without that, it's pretty heavily Freeze Mage favorite, I would say.
There was a lot of controversy about that match, though. Because I talked to a lot of players that disagreed with RDU's general mulligan strategy, even after like 10 games in Aggro Shaman. He mulliganed like it was a normal Aggro Shaman game instead of an Aggro Shaman versus Freeze Mage game. I guess in a ladder setting or conquest setting, well, no, in the ladder setting, I guess, not a conquest setting, where you don't know your opponent's deck list and you have to mulligan for tempo, then yeah, Freeze Mage is probably favored, but it's tough. But Pinpingho's list is... It's definitely unfavored.
Yeah, it's not going to be Freeze Mage.
It is probably never going to be Freeze Mage. Neilyo could probably let Pinpingho have a full board.
Right, and just freeze it. And
just still, not even just take the hits, because it's probably going to be a board full of totems and maybe an Ardent Squire and a Totem Golem. And so you're taking 4 each turn. You can probably just race them at that stage. It's
like the strategy of letting the zoo have an entire board full of tentacles and just, you know what, you can't kill me, so I'm just going to let you have that.
You're just dealing 7 every turn, and you're not going to get any more unless you have Power Overwhelming. So, Neilyo has Freeze Mage out of the way. We didn't quite see the bans.
Right.
But I imagine it's Warrior Ban for Neilyo.
And Warrior Ban is maybe...
And probably Warrior Ban for Pinpingho, but there might be a Druid ban based off of his decks. It's hard to say. Neilyo does have mid-range Shaman, so I think Pinpingho would feel confident in a mirror matchup. He'd feel confident playing against mid Shaman. So it's between Warrior and Druid. I guess we'll just see when what matches we have next. But now that Neilyo has Freeze Mage out of the way, if Druid is banned, then he's got the Dragon Warrior plus the mid-range Shaman left for himself.
Right. And that's a pretty good situation to be in for Neilyo. Pretty strong decks remaining over. But yeah, apologies for not having the band in and kind of starting a little bit late. Obviously, you know, organizing entire tournament. I believe we actually had a Thai kind of speech at the very beginning. And that was part of it as well. And we're getting all our players situated. So
saw the trophy as well. It's like a, it's a Hearthstone arena key. It's pretty cool. It's
oh,
pretty sick
right.
trophy.
They actually did that in China. They have...
Yeah.
So when they go to BlizzCon, they have the 12-win key. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool trophy. I wish I had a trophy.
Oh. I never actually got a trophy for winning one of the online tournaments, but I got... So when I qualified for BlizzCon a couple of years ago, they gave me like a little like plaque type thing, so that was cool.
I have a cardboard BlizzCon poster that somebody gave me.
Oh, I won one of those, but
I didn't. Come on, man.
Sorry. Hey, you haven't had to deal with the pain of not drawing fireworks and losing the fire bet for $35,000. So.
No, you're right. I haven't. I feel like that's something that not many people have experienced in their life.
Yeah, true.
I feel like maybe 2.
Yeah.
Probably 1.
Probably.
And it's just you.
Yeah. Well, specifically fire bet, yeah. But there's other people who've lost in you know, really high pressure matches. Like for instance, Kano got a bit unfortunate when he played against Hot Form at the same stage of BlizzCon.
I'm actually going to challenge Firebat right now to a $35,000 best of tournament.
Do I draw fireworks?
Dragon Warrior mirrors. So
he's like, sure, let's do this.
I've heard Firebat will never back down from a money match. The bat.
The bat. He is really, for his age, I think he's still 19 or 20. He's really got his financial future already set. But enough about Firebat. We're going to the next game, and it is going to be the Shaman once again here. Sorry.
Look at that hand.
Double totemic might. Get those 06 taunts out there.
Yeah. Toss those suckers away as fast as you can.
All right. Thrall versus Gyarados this time.
Job's done.
And the Dragon Warrior does pretty well against, you know, the aggro Shaman. But what are your thoughts on this particular matchup?
Mid-range Shaman, I feel like, is a lot closer. Dragon Shaman can usually just curve out, especially against Totem Shaman, because the one reason why aggro Shaman, why mid-range Shaman I think does a little bit better against Dragon Warriors because they curve out longer into the game. Like they never have weak plays. Even if you go into turn 6, turn 7, they usually like provide multiple threats throughout the course of the game. Whereas aggro Shaman doesn't. You know, after a while, the Dragon Warrior is dropping a big threat, and the aggro Shaman isn't.
Exactly.
But this deck has a lot of situational cards. It's got Spirit Claws. It has Totemic Might. It has Primal Fusion. And against the deck that relies a lot on the board, not being able to hold a board and have situational cards that relies on you having a very specific board, i.e. totems, I feel like it's a little bit inconsistent. But Pinpingho does have a good opening hand. I mean, he's got Coin, Totem Golem, mid to Artisquire.
Yep, that is the kind of the dream there, going Coin, Totem Golem into any sort of one-drop to continue the pressure. He's going to do a little bit of bluffing here, pretend he has something like Slam, potentially, pretend he has some sort of card that he's maybe not going to elect to play, but we can see that none of those cards are great. Going to go ahead and Armor Pass. Neilyo is one of those players that sometimes likes to play a little bit of mind games with his opponent. At BlizzCon, he actually decided to rope every single turn sometimes and wait until the rope came out to make his play. Like, he wasn't even thinking about his play. So sometimes they can get on the opponent's nerves. Sometimes they can get on the audience's nerves as well, though.
Yeah, he had a lot of people that were kind of upset about him for that. But hey, if I'm playing it in a tournament to play for top 8 at BlizzCon, I am definitely going to use every single piece of advantage that I can take in a game like that. And if he thinks his opponent's going to tilt because he's roping every turn, he's going to rope every turn. And so, yeah, like you said, he likes to do a lot of card tricks as well. Neilyo is also a very good hand reader.
Yeah.
He reminds me of sort of players like Chalky and RDU, who both can make sick hand reads off of basically zero information. And Neilyo
Well,
likes
some
to do that as
information.
well, yeah, but
It has to be some information.
yeah, but I'm saying
It's seemingly zero information.
yeah, seemingly zero information. They'll make card reads just because of how many times they play in tournaments and on ladder, and they just practice trying to read cards.
Just feel on how the game's progressed so far.
Yeah.
And for Pinpingho, so for Neilyo, he had to decide whether or not to go for maybe a Blood to Ichor Execute there. Finally decides to go for the monkey, the Fierce Monkey in the end. Pinpingho, he picks up the Rock Biter. Initially, it was going to be probably the Flame Tongue and just trading with the Totem Golem, but if you can keep that guy healthy, it's pretty valuable. And we might just see a Rock Biter on the Argent Squire as well as a Totem here, which, you know, if you're playing Totem Shaman, every Totem is pretty threatening.
Yeah, I think that this would have changed what his play would have been. If he had gotten Spellpower Totem, he would have Spirit Claws and traded.
Right.
If he didn't, he was going to Rock Biter trade. So either way, very strong early board. Ravaging Ghoul Execute would ruin this board, but I'm pretty sure Neilyo only runs one Ravaging Ghoul. One Ravaging Ghoul seems to be becoming standard because of how situational the card it is.
Right, less Zoo these days as well.
Yeah, also much less Zoo these days, and the Zoos that are present, a lot of them are cutting Forbidden Ritual in favor of like Malkusir's Imp and some of that package.
Good old Disco Lock.
Disco Lock?
Yeah, because of Karazhan. Discard lock, Disco Lock.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, it's nice.
That is cute.
Yeah. You're welcome. Anyway, we have a decision here from Neilyo. The thing is, it's somewhat tempting to go with all three of these because there's the Temple of the Rogue, and then you can go, and it looks like he goes for the Priest in the end here because obviously without the armor it can be problematic, but you can kind of sustain your board over the Shaman here, and like you mentioned before, the game can go a bit long between these two decks because Shaman just kind of hangs in there the entire time with just resilient threats and things like totems that can get buffed up. So you're sitting there clearing totems. It's kind of hard to just go face without getting punished. So Neilyo recognizes that and goes for the long game.
I'm not sure if I agree with that play. He's holding on to Blood to Ichor Execute for a really long time, and
well, it's turn 4, so.
Well, I think for this matchup, it's a really long time. A lot of times, you know, I find myself executing turn 2, turn 3 if you miss a 2-drop. There's a lot of things that punish this Frothing Berserker right now. Whether it be, you know,
well, the board right now it does. So.
Well, the board counters it alone because you can make it trades, but Flamestone Totem trades so well with this board. Primal Fusion would trade really well with this board. Even like just Totemic Might plus anything that deals damage would wreck this board.
I think that Neilyo, he thinks that he can just kind of play for the late game a bit here. The Rogue didn't really do a whole lot. Obviously, the Hunter doesn't really help too much either, especially because he's a bit behind. There's no real way he's trading in the near future. Yeah. So he's saying that, like, all right, maybe I can get some value out of here. And if I use Execute early, I just lose to the Flaming Faceless, whereas now I can maybe have a big swing turn later when that does come out. My opponent uses essentially 6 mana and get countered by 2.
Yeah.
Alright, so Neilyo, pretty quick turn this time, just goes ahead and gets rid of that Flame Tongue Totem here. 4 mana for Pinpingho, so can't play out, for instance, you know, Temple Thunderblood Valiant, but instead he's going to go for this Manatite Totem and get a pretty nice trade with his Spirit Claws.
And he's looking like he's running away with the board, and having that Manatite means that Neilyo not only has to invest into clearing the board, he has to invest into clearing a minion that's not really threatening anything for himself. Oh, Alexstras's Champion is probably going to be a good pickup. Next turn, Neilyo can really do a lot in like with Blood to Ichor Execute and Alexstras's Champion as a combo.
I'm curious whether or not he wanted to use Blood to Ichor right now just to fill out his curve, although it does die to Spirit Claws plus Searing Totem. Second Spirit Claws comes in the hand of Pinpingho, which is not really one. So it looks like it's going to be a pretty dead turn without picking up the Wrath of Air.
Yeah.
Double 2-drop? Or double 1-drop, excuse me? Potentially. You shall not pass.
Shield Bear.
Shield Bear has been a really good card to come off of these Maelstrom Portals, actually. And Arcane Anomaly, these are 2 of the better ones, I would say.
Yeah, definitely 2 of the better ones. And
Shield Bear is like a Stoneclaw Totem with Totemic Might. Think about that one.
Think about that. Eat that, haters. Shield Bearer haters.
And Alex Charge's champion is not getting in anytime soon.
It can take out 3/4 of a Shield Bearer. Pretty good. Should look
None
at
shall
everything.
pass, though. Well, 3/4 is not the full 4/4, though. Again, none shall pass. Wait, is that Black Knight? I'm getting confused with these taunts.
None shall pass.
Yeah. Does he say none shall pass?
What doesn't make really any sense.
Well, I know Black Knight says it. It's kind of bizarre.
Yeah, Black Knight, I know, says something that's just doesn't really make any sense. So that would make sense that it doesn't make any sense. Makes sense of that.
I think he's just being ironic. He's like, actually, all shall pass, but meh. All right, Thunderbolt Valiant finally comes down. Only going to buff 2 totems, but that's pretty good here for Pinpingho against the Stoneclaw totem again. So more walls in front of Neilyo here, and likely going to be seeing finally the Blood to Ichor execute on his side because that Thunderblood Valiant has to go.
This is one of the reasons why I don't like being too conservative with Blood to Ichor execute early on. I feel like if you try and save it for the Flamery Faceless, and they don't have Flamery Faceless, you're going to lose.
Right, I know what you're saying.
Might as well just go for it early and just lose to Flamery Faceless anyway.
Well, there's the other side of that, right? If you use it for tempo early, you can maybe get the board and then just naturally deal with it Flaming Faceless. Yeah. Whereas now you're falling behind just by the virtue of the fact that you haven't gone for tempo earlier on.
I think Neilyo might have gotten caught up in the fact that sort of disrespected the deck a little bit and said, well, the only way you beat me is Flamery Faceless.
Right.
And so he got greedy with the Blood to Ichor execute, which in a way you can't blame him, but he held on to it for even a long time after that and just used it now when he could have used it on a Totem Golem early on in the game. Even after turn 4, which, you know, that Totem Golem has now dealt him, it dealt 13 damage so far.
I think if on turn 2 he had picked up the Blood to Ichor off the top, he would have pulled the trigger then. But since he had plays to make, he didn't really. There's this kind of feeling inside when you always want to curve out. You want to play your 3-drop. You don't really want to play 2 mana when you just picked it up off the top. So I think he just rationalized in his head like, well, I kind of just want to play off the top here, or I kind of want to just play on curve here, and I can save this Blood to Ichor execute for a bit later.
I mean, there's still a chance he just wins because Pinpingho, his hand is Totemic Might and Spirit Claws.
Right.
But
never Wrath of Air Totem, by the way.
Yeah, that's Spirit Claws.
Drake is not too bad.
It's reload. That's
well,
good.
He could decide to go for the Draconid Crusher anyway, just because that's the only thing that really deals with the massive Totem Golem by itself. Right now he's staring at 9 damage, and it's 11 if the Wrath of Air Totem is rolled, so he needs to kind of take care of himself, but he can just heal his own face here. Finally going to get rid of the Shield Bearer. That guy has been a nuisance for a long time.
Yeah. So a couple opportunities for lethal here for Pinpingho. If he picks up any damage and rolls Wrath of Air Totem, Flamer Face is just good now.
Yeah, well, there's a Wrath of Air Totem. Yeah, when you don't pick up lethal, picking up one of the most dense cards in your deck is a nice consolation prize. Decision making here, whether he wants to start clearing the board. He can get him down to 2, speaking of Pinpingho.
Yeah.
And yes, he is going to go ahead and do that. Very difficult for Neo to come back on this board. Execute helps quite a bit, though.
Oh, yeah. And Curator to follow that up with the following turn. Not bad. Curator is such a great card. One, its stats line for 7 mana that actually draws cards is really good, especially considering it has Taunt. 2, this deck runs very low curved beasts and low curved Murlocs. If you haven't drawn Finley yet, it'll pull them out of your deck. It'll pull the rest of your Fierce Monkeys out of the deck.
Ooh. What do you think about this?
The trades?
He didn't clear the Wrath of Air Totem.
I think it's fine.
Because now he's taking 3 damage. I guess he would have taken 2 regardless.
There's only 2 cards left in the deck that even deal damage. He would have to have drawn Rockbiter or Thunderblood Valiant.
But he could have also, I guess, drawn Thalnos or something like that. So he draws Thalnos and gets damage, and he has the Searing Totem. So I guess that's what he was thinking about.
Yeah. And he can just roll it again.
Right. All right, so it looks like Neilyo might have actually stabilized after it was getting pretty close to just him falling. You know, a couple draws here for Pinpingho would have won the game, but
Instead, he draw Totemic Might.
Exactly, and even Thing from Below is not going to help him all too much.
Yeah. So Totemic Might is usually pretty great. I don't want to say that it's a bad card because I actually preached about this card pretty heavily when Wicked Witch Doctor was first released. But I feel like the card just can't reach its maximum potential without Wicked Witch Doctor, without a secondary win condition with Bloodlust. Some way to actually utilize your totems that are now buffed up and a little bit more healthy. And Pinpingho, the Shaman deck, I said earlier on I didn't like it. I thought it was going to be inconsistent, and that's exactly what it's showing in these first two matchups. Had a huge lead in that game. Got Neilyo down all the way to effectively 1 health with the Spirit Claws.
Right.
And wasn't able to close out the game because he had so many dead draws in the later half. Even getting in the last 4 draws a Flaming Faceless wasn't enough because Neilyo was able to answer it with his Execute. And those Totemic Mites just not really doing much.
Yeah, I can't help but agree with you there. And even the Flaming Faceless, if that was something like a Wicked Witch Doctor, played all of his spells, had a bunch of totems, then goes Totemic Might, then you're looking at the board and you have Thunderbolt Valiant to finish off the game. You just need either one or the other. If it's too much, mixed cards, mixed synergies, then it can just fall flat like that. Like Flaming Faceless by itself just didn't do enough.
Didn't do enough. So Neilyo, I believe he has mid Shaman left. If I had to take a guess, Pinpingho would ban Malagos Druid. Druid really strong right now. A lot of players think that Malagos Druid is one of the best decks in the game. But mid Shaman is scary. The one thing that I think about Pinpingho, though, is he's very confident in playing Shaman and playing against Shaman.
Right, because he knows all the ins and outs of how, the strategies that go into winning certain games. He even knew then, with his opponent at 6 health, he's like, well, I'm just not going to win this game. Time to concede.
Not going to win. Well, he had like no damage left in his deck.
Yeah, exactly.
And his board was just getting cleared every turn. He had to get to a Curator.
So really big deal, though, because if we consider that his weakest deck right now, getting that out of the way would really go far and allow him to win this match. But instead, now he still has to win with it. And it looks like we do have...
He actually banned Shaman away from Neilyo. So Druid's going to be the last deck from Neilyo. That's really interesting that maybe he just respects mid-range Shaman so much that he wanted to ban it away.
He's like, Shaman's too strong.
Yeah, but I feel like his decks are really good against Shaman. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that Pinpingho might be just going down with a Shaman 3-0 right now.
It's a possibility. Malagos Druid could sometimes struggle against Shaman because they don't have really good answers to their early board. And they don't deal with wide boards really well unless they get like really situational Raven Idol stuff or like really early spell power swipes, things like that.
Right.
Against this matchup, you sort of have to use the spells that you would otherwise use from Malagos combo really early on in the game and just hope you draw into Arcane Giants or some way to reload. A lot of times you have to use like Moonfires without Violet Teacher synergies or anything like that just to clear up board and stop taking damage. So
with the Flaming Faces in the deck instead of the Witch Doctor, do you think maybe he was targeting Druid? We could take a look at his decks in a second here, but just thinking about it, for Druid, they can't deal with wide and big boards at the same time, right? They can't deal... They have the Mulches, which is usually one in the deck unless they get Raven Idol. They can't deal with wide boards unless they commit, several cards. And sometimes to deal with a wide board, you just make your own wide board, but you can't do that, obviously, if you're facing, a big threat on turn 4. So it's... what do you think?
It's possible, but I don't feel like the Beast Druid fits in there very well.
Right.
If you're going for a situation where you want to counter Druid. I also don't think Totem Shaman fits in that really well. You might as well just bring Aggro Shaman, but we'll give Pinpingho a pass here just because of the fact that Pinpingho won't play Aggro Shaman.
Right.
He doesn't think it's really Shaman.
Yeah, it's not the real Shaman, just a bunch of face cards.
Yeah.
I think that Aggro Shaman is a pretty even matchup against Druid, I would say.
Well, this is a no Ancient of War version.
Right.
So, and no Moonglade Portal. So it's really hard for you to stabilize as this deck. All right, well, here we go. Potentially the final match, or the final game of this match. Neilyo up 2-0 in the series. That's Malfurion.
That is Malfurion and another Malfurion. I think we heard a glimpse of Emperor Thorson, but in any case, we're going to see this matchup, not really a mirror matchup, in fact, pretty far from a mirror matchup as you can get, considering that they're both Malfurion here. Going to be Beast versus Malagos. Bunch of big mid-range minions hitting your face versus a lot of spell damage at the end here for Neilyo.
So Pinpingho, passing this early as B-Shoot is not what you want to do.
Not at all. Even turn 1, you want to get that Raven Idol, or not the Raven Idol, excuse me, the Enchanted Raven, or the Living is potentially out there. And Neilyo, he realizes that this is Beast Druid, and he's thinking, do I need to get out this Power of the Wild out on the board as quickly as possible? I can't really wait for some sort of crazy board later, because I'm likely going to be trying to remove my opponent's board every single turn from here on out.
Yeah, I really like this play. It's not something that a lot of players will immediately go for because they just look at Power of the Wild and they think of it as Valid Teacher synergy. But now Neilyo will have a way to deal with this Druid of the Flame, and I think it's going to be Innervate, Azure Drake plus Moonfire.
Yep, Moonfire, good card sometimes in situations like these. He's going to go ahead and take that out nice and easy, and goodbye Druid of the Flame. No Mark of Yashiraj for you. No Wildwalker as well. And
Neilyo gets something on the board to contest whatever the next threat that Pinpingho is going to play. And this is what I talked about with Wildwalker. Just, you'd much rather have something that's proactive. I mean, look at his hand. He doesn't even have a beast. And he's got 4 beast synergy cards.
That said, double Mark of Yashiraj and Wildwalker, every single deck can run into this issue where it's like, I put 2 in this deck in order to draw 1, not to draw both of them.
Yeah.
All right, decision time here for Neilyo. It's most likely going to be between the Nourished and the Feral Rage here, and his hand is looking pretty anemic, but he does have the cycle with that Thalanos. On the other hand, the Feral Rage is a really good tool for either removal or to get that health back, which he's going to be taking a pounding most likely in the mid game here. So I don't know, pretty tough decision here. What would you take?
I'd probably take Nourish. Feral Rage you would take if you wanted to line up for a threat the following turn. But there's not really anything that Pinpingho is going to play on turn 5 that's going to be killed fully by a Feral Rage, whether it be Stranglethorn Tiger, even Mounted Raptor, the second body wouldn't be able to be killed, so it's a little bit awkward. This is...
I'm not like this thing over here at TJ, because he has 4 beast kind of like, you know, they work with beast. They have beast synergy.
4 mana 4/4 is not good.
Yeah.
D2? It's not.
He has 4 cards in his hand that have synergy with beast, but no beast in his hand.
And now that he's used a swipe, Neilyo can just feel free to go pretty ham with Spot Teacher and picks up Power of the Wild.
And he's going to get another 1/1 for his troubles. He went for the card there rather than clearing it off right away, and going to get pretty rewarded because Pinpingho has no way to deal with this. Neilyo kind of wins. He's like, I wish I had that Innervate, but he's going to be pretty happy unless Pinpingho top deck swipe right now. Nope, that's not going to be the case. And yep, Neilyo seems to be running away with this game.
That is really good, though, because he could go Stranglethorn Tiger next.
Okay, I'll explain to the viewers. It's going to be Stranglethorn Tiger, Innervate into the Mark of Yashiraj, followed by the Menagerie Warden next turn to get double 7/7 stealth on the following turn as TJ dies in a coughing fit. But
I'm back.
All right.
Wondering I couldn't hold back the cough. Yeah. The Mark of Yashiraj. Yeah, you said it.
Yep. Just interesting to see if he goes for it right now. He can just go for it next turn. It's not really necessary. Just kind of wondering whether he might want to have 1 mana next turn. He could, if he goes for the Innervate into Mark of Yashiraj right now, he can play Enchanted Raven potentially with Menagerie Warden. So that's, or he could actually just Innervate Mulch right now, but then he can't Innervate next turn. So yeah.
I think just passing here is pretty good. And
Swipe Face Power of the Wild.
Swipe Face Power of the Wild. No.
Oh,
Nurse for mana and Power of the Wild.
Right, because he has Drake in hand, yeah,
Yeah,
so it gets an extra 2/2 for the Nourish, and so it's not a complete waste of a card here. And he gets the extra mana for the Drake, and everything's looking pretty good here for Neilyo right now.
Yeah, I don't know what Pinpingho is going to be able to do. Neilyo realized that he just wants to be able to play whatever he draws. He doesn't really need cards. He has what he has what he needs to sort of win the game. Druid of the Claw could be pretty impactful, but not really.
Just put up a huge wall. Just put up a, what would that be, a 6/8? Sorry, an 8/10 taunt.
Yeah.
Druid of the Claw, Mark of Yashiraj, Innervate, Mark of Yashiraj. He doesn't need to clear off the File Teacher, unfortunately, so it might just be a 6/8 here.
I think you just need to make the strongest possible board you could this turn, and that would mean Mark of Yashiraj into Menagerie Warden. I mean, there is some merit into playing Druid of the Claw and innovating out Mark of Yasharaz to make that 6/8 like you talked about.
He is dead. We do know that if he does decide to go ahead and Menagerie Warden right now and kill out the Violet Teacher, there is 12 damage on board plus 5 in hand. So
maybe the taunt is good because the 2/2s line up quite nicely into that.
well, he's dead.
Yeah. But, I mean, this play makes sense because if he lives this turn, then he's in a great position because he can clear off the board and then Druid of the Claw into it.
Well, there's Malkos. But yeah, I definitely do agree with you. You go for the play that wins you the game, not the play that you survive for this particular turn. If you get past this turn, you're in fantastic shape later on. But that's the breaks. Neilyo is going to go ahead and have exact lethal here. Going to finish out this series, and he is going to move on while Pinpingho moves down to the lower bracket.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm not liking Pinpingho's chances moving forward in this tournament based off of how his decks performed in this series. Neilyo brought decks that I can imagine a lot of the field will bring. Very similar styles with just Dragon Warrior, Malagos Druid, some kind of Shaman, whether it be mid or aggro, and some kind of Mage.
Right. Well, Neilyo did perform very well. We don't know if every single player will perform as well as Neilyo did here. Maybe one decision that we somewhat disagreed with as far as the Blood to Acre execute, but besides that, pretty flawless play for here from Neilyo.
He still won, and you know, I don't know if I necessarily disagreed with it. I was trying to think if I did. He held off going to turn 4, so you know exactly what his plan was, and that was to have an answer to the Flaming Faceless should Pinpingho play it. But who knows if that's going to give you a higher win rate overall over the course of the game. But definitely well played by Neilyo, and liking his decks. I said earlier I predicted him to win based off his performance, based off watching him for a few years play now.
Yeah, first round, first pick in our little draft. But yeah, I definitely have to agree. I'm liking the pick by you, and liking the play by Neilyo, looking like one of the favorites, certainly, just based on that match. 3-0 over a very strong player in Pinpingho. So looking forward to see if Neilyo can maybe go far and take the tournament.
Yeah, Pinpingho definitely going to have to go back to the
drawing board, except he has to stay with the same decks. But
yeah, go back to the drawing board as far as like his general strategy with these decks go, though.
Right.
Maybe playing a little bit more, trying to theme his deck a little bit more aggressively and going all in a little bit quicker with the Shaman. And for Neilyo, just keep doing the same thing. It's going to be a long road for Pinpingho. Falling down to the lower bracket in the first round means in order to get to the top 8, he's going to have to win like 8 in a row.
Right. There's a lot of extra matches because you play against the people who end up dropping down later, whereas you don't have those extra matches if you stay in the winners bracket. So definitely a really unenviable spot to fall down right in the beginning.
Yeah, but definitely a